guys, so today's video is going to be a review on the MILANI palettes. I am so excited about these, and I was so excited when I finally saw them in store, and I was so excited to get my hands on them and play with them and try them out. And I actually did create this eye look with these palettes here. It should be already up on my channel, so I will link that down below. But it's really simple. I just did some warm shades in my crease and sparkled it up a little. I love these palettes. Let's just start off with that. I will get into more detail in a second here. I have the shade Earthy Metals, which is really warm tone, and it's literally like my style. In a palette, I used the warmer shades in my crease, and they're very pretty. This palette right here has two matte shades, and the rest are shimmer. This one's more of a satin, and so is this one, and then these two are shimmer. But for the most part, these palettes are very nice. I've also got Bare Necessities, which is also so gorgeous. This is just more cool tone and naturals, and in this one you've got two matte shades and shimmers. These shadows, both the palettes, the shadows in them, they are so pigmented but not too creamy. I feel like if you were just to swatch them, you wouldn't like, you'd be like, oh, these are good, but they're not the best. Like, there's some palettes that are so creamy to the touch that you're like, oh my god, this is so good. But once you actually have them on your eyes and you're trying them out, they're not as good, or they wear off really easily. They crease really easily because they are so creamy. These are very pigmented, but they're not super creamy, so that they stay on your eyes all day long. Something that impresses me about these eyeshadow palettes is that even when a drugstore palette is good, the matte shades in it lack, or there are not enough matte shades in the palette, you know what I mean? But these each have two matte shades. I'm not sure about the other palettes, they might have more or less, but you get 2 out of 6 matte shades, which are perfect to create a look. And you know, I just feel like at least 1 or 2 matte shades is essential for a makeup look, so I like that they include 2, and then you get some really pretty shimmery glittery shades. And I just really like these palettes. I think the color selections are awesome. I'm pretty sure they have 4 other palettes that I didn't get. They have a more cool tone neutral palette with a matte black, which I really wanted to pick up. They have a plum one, which I also want to get, and then they have a blue toned one, and then they have a very colorful one. So they have something for everyone, and they are drugstore price, so you can mix and match and get a few. I think the price on these is really good. They're $10 a piece, but you are getting 6 eyeshadows, so I honestly would go with these MILANI palettes over any other palette at the drugstore, like the blush nudes from Maybelline, or any of the Maybelline palettes like this. They are not worth it. Pigmentation on these lacks so much. They are really chalky. Like, it might look nice, but super chalky and just not... they don't stay on the eyes, they don't blend well. I do not recommend these Maybelline palettes. The Revlon ones I do not like. Just a bunch of the drugstore palettes I don't really like, and these are really good, and for a pretty good price at $10. So I think it is a very nice price. I will do swatches later on in this video. I will have the time mark somewhere on the screen and listed down below if you guys are just interested in swatches. But I'm going to talk about each individual palette for a second. So first of all, the packaging. I love MILANI packaging with the gold and everything. I do wish it was kind of all gold and it had a mirror. That would be perfect. But I'm fine with it like this too, because you can see the colors, especially if you buy more than one. A typical MILANI packaging, beautiful gold packaging, very nice. And then this brush, I was just gonna throw it out like initially, but good thing I didn't. I love this little brush that comes in the MILANI eyeshadows. The smaller brush is perfect for smudging out the lower lash line. Perfect for that. And then the other flat shader brush is perfect for the inner corners or the brow bone. I don't really like these for the actual lid, but it is perfect for smoking out the lower lash line and your brow bone and highlighting the inner corner. So definitely keep a hold of those brushes. So this is the Earthy Metals, and I really like this palette because it's so warm. The only shade I'm not too fond of is this first one right here. Just because it kind of lacks pigmentation from the other ones. You can see it reflects like beautifully. But I don't like it on the eyes because it barely has any pigment. As you can see, you can barely see it. This is really pretty though if I just am doing like mascara and done and I want just a little bit of shine on my eyelids. I just throw this on the eyelid and it just looks like my eyelids are glowing. It's not really like sparkly or very pigmented, but it just has a very nice sheen to it. I also really like this as a face highlight. As you can see here, it is very finely milled. And it's not very awesome as an eyeshadow, but as a face highlight, it is very pretty. As for the second palette, I like all the shades except the first one. The first one I don't really like that much, just because I feel like whenever I put it on my lids, it kind of gets everywhere and it doesn't really stick down. It's a little bit not powdery, but a little chunky, you know, but if I do use it wet, it is very nice. As you can see swatched, it is beautiful, but on the lid it just tends to kind of get everywhere and kind of create this like powdery cast on my eyes, but if I use it wet, it is very gorgeous. So I do love the formula of these eyeshadows. They blend beautifully, they swatch beautifully, they work beautifully on the eyes, and you have a good color selection as far as all the palettes go, and even in each palette you can create a number of looks. And now let's get into the swatches. So yes, the first shade right here, as I mentioned, it doesn't swatch the, like, it's really pretty, but I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's not very pigmented. So see, like, you can't really see it. It's just more of a highlight kind of, you know? But this is really pretty on the brow bone if you don't want like shimmer, you know? You just want like a light sheen of shimmer. And then this is a matte shade right here. This is such a pretty shade. It's like a caramel shade. I use this all the time in my crease. And as you can see, these matte shades are buttery. And you don't really come across really nice matte shades at the drugstore, so that's awesome. The next shade is another matte, and the matte shades I think like are more creamy than the shimmer shades, which doesn't really happen often. But look at this shade. It's like a autumn pumpkin shade, and just look at that pigment. What? And then we've got this really pretty kind of taupey brown shade. Very beautiful. Then we've got a lighter highlight shade right here, and I really like this one right here. It has a lot of warmth to it and some peachiness. And this one kind of just has a sheen. It's kind of like a semi-matte, as you can see there. I don't know if you can see these lighter shades, but they are very pretty. And then the last shade is a nice chocolatey, kind of, it has some like red tones in it. It's a very pretty shimmer shade, and definitely look at that pigment, guys. Whew. So yeah, the only shade I'm disappointed with is that first one. For what I thought it was going to be, but I am still using it on my brow bone or just a light wash on my lid for a very natural look. But these shadows are so good. Like, their pigmentation is amazing, and these matte shades are so good. The next palette is the Bare Necessities palette, and I love the name of this because it reminds me of The Jungle Book, one of my favorite movies. So yes, let's get started. The first one here is the one that I wasn't very impressed with. It's just a little bit clunky for me. As you can see swatched, it is gorgeous, but yes, on the lid it's not my favorite. Then we've got a matte shade. This is a very pretty cool tone brown. I use this all the time to as a transition. And as you can see, it's a very nude, so it doesn't show up that well, but it's still pigmented. Then we've got this gold shade right here, and this is such a pretty gold. Look at that pigment, guys. Then we've got this like coppery brown shade right here, and this is gorgeous as well. Then we've got a highlight shade. This shade tricks you, it really does. You think it's just a light highlight shade, but it has so much gold flecks in it that it appears gold on the lid. Look at that. Do you see the gold in it? I don't know if you can see it. It's definitely a highlight with a lot of yellow undertones in it. You can see that. And then the last shade is a matte brown, which I think is perfect. And look how creamy and pigmented that is, guys. Whew. It's so good. This is the Earthy Metals palette, and this is the Bare Necessities palette. So overall, I love these palettes. They are so pigmented and they blend really nicely and last all day while being super perfect, and the matte shades are so creamy and blendable. I love them. Highly recommend picking up these palettes, and if you already have one or if you're going to pick one up, tell me which one you are going to get, or if you already have them, tell me if you love them as much as I do. Yes, and which colors you recommend as well. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Tell me your thoughts on this palette, or if you're gonna pick it up or not. Tell me what you'd like to see next. As always, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.